Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Wayne County. We are a diverse congregation that welcomes you as you are, regardless of your age, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, economic status, or physical ability. We come together to seek deeper meaning and understanding from each other and the world around us. Your presence here today is a gift that brings us closer to that understanding. We are an active community that lives its values beyond the hours of Sunday morning. Please subscribe to our weekly and monthly newsletter, to follow us on Facebook to keep up with what's happening. I'd like to call your attention to the following. Today marks 700 days in a row at the Square in Worcester. Join others between the hours of 12 noon and 1 p.m. and show your support for radical justice in Worcester and the world. Our spring landscape work day is scheduled for Sunday, May 15th after the service. If you want to help with the landscaping, come dressed to garden. Ruthie and the landscape committee have a list of spring cleanup tasks and could use your help. Please bring your gloves, tools for weeding and shoveling mulch, and there are details on the back of your order of service that give you a little bit more information. If you are a member of the fellowship, please try to attend the annual meeting on Sunday, May 22nd after the service. If you cannot attend the meeting in person, proxy forms are now available in the lobby. You can assign your proxy to another member who is able to attend. If you have any questions, please ask Ian. If you would like to find out more about our activities, feel free to ask Karen Skubik, who is right over there, our membership coordinator after the service.
Good morning, friends. I am the Reverend Walter Clark, and I have the delight of not doing the sermon today.
What?
Yeah. So thankfully, the wonderful members of the leadership development team have offered to take this Sunday to talk about the beauty and the power of leadership, and I am very excited to hear their message. And I know all of you are as well. So, that being said, I am curious, do we have anyone who is visiting us today for the first, second, maybe third time? Anyone? All right. Would you like to introduce yourself? Oh, hold on. Our Karen will come with the microphone, and I'll be on the podium. I'll be over here. Ooh, this one's nice.
Thank you. I'm Jane Wasman. This is the first time I've been to church for 50 years. So I'm really curious.
Come to the right place, Jane. Good.
Jane, you are welcome. A lot of other people here haven't been in a church in 50 years as well. Is there anyone else? All right. Well, thank you, Jane. We have lots of wonderful members who would love to get to know you better. I'll be hanging around after service myself if you'd like to talk to me. I do want to say two other things real quick before we get started. As you know, we have this beautiful new building, right? And we are working on getting a facilities team together. So if you are interested in doing some of the wonderful hands-on work to maintain this building, Gail is helping to form a facilities team. Second, I would like to announce that our Director of Religious Education, Jenny Papp, passed her credentialing process and is official credentialed religious educator. And in the lobby, on the skinny tables, there are 3 cards and some pens. The cards say, "Congratulations, Jenny." If anyone after service would like to sign them to let them know how proud you are of her, they will be there for you. Thank you again, Leadership Development Team, for making my Sunday easier. and for making your Sunday better.
In the words of Dolly Parton, if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader, and you forgot to use the microphone, which you don't do again. I'll get it next time. Use the microphone.
Thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to get to know you better. While we don't have coffee after the service yet, you are welcome to stay after service and socialize and get to know us better. Now I would ask you to open your minds and silence your cell phones for our time together. Okay. Let us now rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, Break Not the Circle. The music can be found in the gray hymnal, number 323. Till it includes praises Nancy, I'm going to do one thing real quick. Today's service is slightly different. Today is Leadership Development Sunday. I'm Debbie Barnes, the chairperson for the Leadership Development. I want to give a big thanks to the rest of our team members. Kristen Keating, Stacy Clemmy, Vera Rowland, Martin Lubell, Nancy Hurd, David Paul, Joanne Downs, and Dan O'Rourke, our co-chair, who will be demystifying leadership for us later in the service. To some, the word leadership can be a little daunting. To others, it can mean a lot of hours they don't have available to give. We have all been there one time or another. Our goal as the LDT is to help offer help to those who have thought about serving or leading in some capacity, but need help getting started. The LDT wants to make becoming a leader in our fellowship less daunting and more rewarding. If you have a busy schedule, let someone know your interest and how best you feel you can serve your fellowship. Service is a cornerstone of the Unitarian Universalist identity. By making leadership and service part of faith development, and by developing leaders who can faithfully serve the mission and vision of the congregation, not only do we play our part in healing our broken world, but we also find the opportunity to grow our own faith and spirituality and to enhance our relationship with others. A quote by Helen Keller, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much."
Good morning. I didn't know if there were anyone that would want to come up and join me, or are you going to come up? Oh, thank you so much. I was afraid of being alone. And I do have something in the Wonder Box, but remind me, I want to do it later, if I may. So, do any of you know or can describe to me what a leader is? Or who is a leader? Let's start there. Who? Who do you think's a leader? Anything that pops to your mind?
Say your mom.
Somebody who is kind, helpful to people.
Good. Is there someone that you can think of that you would consider? What about good or bad leaders? Do you think we have both good leaders and bad leaders? Yeah, I do. I can think of a few. Oh, those bad ones, man. Wish they'd go away. But what's something you mentioned, I'm sorry, I don't know. Ellie spoke, mentioned that they're kind. What are some other things you think make people a good leader? Listening. Experience. Vision. Empathy. Free food. That's a good one. And hot water for copy. That's a side note. All of these things are accurate. All of these things are true. But the one thing I wanted to talk to you about with leadership are relationships. You know, you I'm trying to remember my slide. Is there a leader in me slide by any chance? Yeah. Do any of you go to school here in Worcester? No? Okay. Worcester City Schools is using this book, The Leader in Me, to help empower students. And Mr. Covey has a quote that every student is a genius, thus a leader. And I wanted to take his quote and switch the word genius to gift and connect that to our first principle. Whereas in the adult world, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of each person, but another version that's easier for me to remember is we respect all people. And thus your relationships, whether it's with your family, your friends, your schoolmates, no matter where you go in the world and in the travels in your life, your relationships are important and helpful and help make you a good leader. So from his genius and our gift, you all have gifts, we all do. And our hope is that here at this fellowship, we help you find those gifts and that you'll share them with us. And that'll make us a stronger community in our relationships. So in the Wonder Box is something I didn't know if someone wanted to look in there and take it out. Sure, go ahead, thank you. Can you tell me what that is?
A mirror.
And who do you see in that mirror? So you can be a leader. Who else? Take a look in that mirror. Who else could be in that a leader? And you are?
Olivia.
Hi, Olivia. So you could be a leader. All righty, and look at this. Even if I grew up a little bit more, I could be a leader. So at this time, we're going to play Follow the Leader, and you're going to follow Miss Jessica and enjoy the beauty of your RE class. Thank you for coming up and spending time with me.
Please join me now in the spirit of meditation. I encourage you all to take a deep breath. If it is comfortable for you to put your feet on the floor, do so. Breathe in and out. Oh, where is that spot? Where's that tension? Is it in your shoulders? Is it in the small of your back? Is it in your knees? Notice where your body is tense. Breathe in to that spot and let it go. Find the spot in yourself that you love. At this moment, I want you to find the spot of yourself that you are secretly proud of. Is it your heart? The courage to love fiercely? Is it your intellect? What you can do with your mind? Is it your hands and the things that they build, the things that they hold? Is it your feet? The distances that you are willing to go in order to be in community? What is that spot of you that you love? What is that spot of you that is a gift? Breathe in. Breathe out. Know that as we share this time, this space together, we share our gifts. No gift that we have is too small. The act of making a cup of coffee, the act of a greeting, hello, the act of being present and listening is a gift. Breathe in. Breathe out. Know that you are a gift. Know that bit that you are so proud of, that bit that shines. Know that the world is better for sharing it. Know that it is needed, despite how small it may seem, despite how small others may tell you it is. We are thankful today for the gifts. While we have been blessed with rain today, we have been blessed with beauty. The flowers have come up. The birds have returned. And I have even seen a small nest of baby rabbits in my yard. Small gifts of beauty make this world a better place. Share your gifts. Rejoice in the gifts of others. Know that spring is eternal and that we are the source of growth. Blessed be. May it be so.
Good morning and happy May Day. I just want to say this song today, Come See the Winter Is Past, is more a plea to the universe, please. So may it be so.
Our commitment to this community is spiritual in its essence, yet we are physical beings also. Our bodies and our minds require the support of our finances and our skills to make this a place of growth, practice, and nurture. People contribute financially to our fellowship in a variety of ways. This morning and throughout the month of May, donations to the UUFWC are not designated for another purpose, will be split with 180. In grateful appreciation of our shared hopes and dreams, the offering will now be collected and gratefully received. Join me in the unison reading. The words are on the screen. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share our gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others. I have two readings this morning by two of our presidents. George Washington, consider morality and what is good when deciding your leadership goals. Human happiness and moral duty are inseparably connected. When a leader helps his team act with integrity and morality, the result is satisfaction and happiness. People want to be part of something that has meaning and is good. And the next one's from Barack Obama. Hope is not blind optimism. It's not ignoring the enormity of the task ahead or the roadblocks that stand in our path. It's not sitting on the sidelines or shirking from a fight. Hope is that thing inside us that insists, despite all evidence to the contrary, that something better awaits us if we have the courage to reach for it and to work for it and to fight for it. Hope is the belief that destiny will not be written for us, but by us, by the men and women who are not content to settle for the world as it is, who have the courage to remake the world as it should be.
So this is a microphone. I'll be darned. Okay. First of all, let me thank the members of the Leadership Development Team for allowing me to represent them. Hopefully they won't regret it in a few minutes, but we'll see. In a former life, I was a teacher, and I used to have a lecture on leadership that I did. So I told them that I could adapt it to this group today. Now you'll be the judge of that and see if that works, okay? Now the interesting thing is actually what Nancy did is sort of the way I used to start my class. Freshman college. Okay, yeah. But the reality was I would start with that opening because everyone thinks they know what leadership is, but I'm going to try to convince you that we have a misperception of it in some ways, right? So I'd open with a question of like, what's the one thing you need to be an effective leader? And I would get answers like, oh, you need intelligence, you need grace, you need empathy, right? But invariably, there'd be one kid in the back. Let's call him Walter, okay? just out of the hat, okay? And Walter would be back there, and he'd be going, you need followers. And he'd be like, thank you, Walter, thank you so much, right? And then I'd go back to my lecture, and I'd write back on the board again, right? And we'd start. But the worst thing about it, and I have to admit this, is Walter was right, all right? It only took me 4 or 5 years to figure it out, because I'm pretty clever that way. But the reality was this notion of relationship is critical to the study of leadership, right? Too many times, we can go to slide number 2 now. This is a regular, see, like slides for the YouTube. The fascinating thing was that this notion of leaders and followers working in relationship together is critical, because that's a dynamic we don't often think about, right? Any of you ever been to a leadership workshop? Oh, well, that still counts, yeah. But the amazing thing is leadership is a cottage industry these days. Do you know the Worcester Chamber of Commerce is going to do a workshop for young business professionals and charge them $1,500 to learn leadership? There are 60 alumni of the program. They've made $90,000 training leadership. We're in the wrong business, folks, okay? Right? The amazing thing about this is this idea, and the program makes perfect sense. If you look at the brochures, the first half of it's educational. They talk about business in the community. They talk about agriculture. They talk about manufacturing, all of that. Then they play some games, and they give away some prizes, and they call it leadership. No. Right? It's amazing thing is Americans love leadership. We have this notion of American exceptionalism, that we are, we're chosen by God to lead the world. We are the leaders. And yes, we have been blessed, all right? There's no question about that. But it's one of those dynamics where you start thinking about leaders, and we've got to define it. I went to my thesaurus, and yes, I still have a thesaurus. I'm that old, all right? But the reality is, when I looked up leader, they suggested 3 synonyms. They were prophet, visionary, and captain. Now, the first 2 didn't help my theory of relationship very much. Because you think about a prophet, and John the Baptist wandered the desert for 40 years. That's not a real good relationship builder, okay? A visionary poet could die before her work is discovered. And her readings might be, so the reality is that doesn't help us a whole lot either. But the idea of a captain begins to expand. And for the military types here, back me up on this one, okay? The interesting thing about a captain is, if you think about a captain in the military hierarchy, a captain is a leader of lieutenants, sergeants, corporals, and privates, while at the same time being a follower of majors, colonels, and generals. A captain is both a leader and a follower in the same organization with different audiences. Let's start expanding our definitions, right? This notion of what it means to be a leader, right? Again, the dynamic is fascinating in terms of we love leadership in that capacity. But when you start thinking about it, one of the things they used to suggest is that leaders are born, right? We have born leaders. Now, the interesting thing about that is there was a time when, and in certain cultures in the caste system, yes, you had to be in a certain social class to be born a leader, right? It could even be asserted in America. You had to be of a certain class, of a certain race, of a certain gender to be born a leader or have the opportunities to lead. But the interesting thing about it is that concept of leadership is expanding, De Tocqueville used to say democracy is one of those kinds of things. When you introduce it to one group, you give it to white men, suddenly other people start going, that seems like a good idea. I'd like some of that too, right? And the same thing happens with leadership. Leadership is expanding to take on new characteristics. We celebrate it wrong, right? We have this big, here's the first little lie about leadership. If you buy that it's a relationship, leaders and followers, Could you not also suggest that every relationship has leadership capacity? Every relationship has leadership and followership. You suggest to your friend, let's go see a movie. They counter with, what do you want to see? When's it showing, right? You have leader and followership. Another issue comes up. They take the leadership position. Every relationship you have has leadership and followership components, but there's small L leadership. We just don't think about it. You've all been trained as leaders. You live as leaders. You act as leaders. If you're sitting here today, here's one of the things about coming to a different church, right? When you step out of conventional paths to come to this place, you show spiritual leadership. You have left behind traditions to come to a new place, right? My parents belonged to a mega Catholic church, 2,000 families, and they went there because they were invisible. They sat in the second to last pew. They had 7 services on Sunday. They went to the 10:30 Sunday service, and they dropped a couple of bucks in the collection box, and they were gone. That was their weekly commitment. They once asked my father if he would take the collection basket up. He goes, that's not why I'm here. Right? I'm not doing that. I'm here to live. It's like, okay. They were invisible. Now, we can't do that here, right? With 200 members and 200, 100 so friends, the fact of the matter is we have to be engaged. So the things I'm going to suggest to you are engagement and encouragement are the things we need to do here. We need to take another step up to get involved, all right, to be part of it. Dirty little secret number 2, okay? Do you know one of the best ways to study leadership? All right? You heard the musical Hamilton? Aaron Burr sings, I want to be in the room where it happens. Gee, who's in the room? Right? Followers. The followers are there. They're the ones learning the issues. They're the ones listening to the discussion. They're the ones seeing other people make. The fact of the matter, followership or engagement is one of the best ways to study leadership, all right? This notion of it being mystical or it being ordained, you think about the fact that we celebrate great leaders of the past, great presidents, but we tend to forget all the people who made those actions come to pass. We celebrate great generals, but we forget to celebrate all the people who died in support of those causes. We celebrate the quarterback. If the Browns ever had a quarterback who could throw a touchdown pass, right, we would celebrate that person. But the problem is we forget that it was the left guard that made the block that enabled that pass. We forget the other 9 people that enabled that team to move forward. Leadership is a team game, right? You have to view it from that way to see it work. It's not so mystical, right? I contend that my daughter had her first formal leadership lesson when she was 4 years old. She went to We Care, okay? And they had VIP day. They would put these big buttons on the kids. They didn't even know what a VIP was, and it didn't matter, right? They got to lead the other kids down to the lunchroom. They got to lead the other kids back to the bathroom. And they got to lead them to the nap area, right? They were leaders. They were training leaders at the age of 4, okay? And my daughter took it very seriously. One day she was sick, and it was like, I can't be sick today, I'm the VIP. And I wanted to say, they'll get to the bathroom without you, but I couldn't, right? Because she was taking it so seriously. I said, they've got a system whereby another kid will step in today and you can be the leadership. But she knew this was important, right? When we start talking about leadership here, it's that idea of being engaged, being involved, okay? That's the first step. The other thing about it is there's no one path to it. Could you be a leader in landscaping? Yeah, absolutely. Jenny showed us last week. We had a dirt communion here, all right? And that's going to be a means of teaching children. Our 7th principle is that we care about the earth, okay? When you engage with other people, when you move from a one-on-one relationship to a 1-to-7 relationship, it just means there's more communication, there's more discussion, but the process doesn't change. The idea structure doesn't change. Leadership is the same, okay?
You could be a leadership in finance. You could be a leader in education. You could be a leader in any capacity you choose to get involved in this fellowship, right? And the other thing is, think about the notion of a relationship. And hear this, maybe most of all, you have the right and the responsibility to say no, okay? Leadership should be engaged with no. If you're too busy right now, if you're too involved, not now. We're going to be here. We'll be here 6 months from now. We'll be here a year from now. Maybe your schedule changes. Maybe you can get more involved then, right? But the fact is, we need your talents. We need your abilities. And that's the thing we're going to start talking about, okay? What can you do? What can you contribute? Because everybody has something they can contribute here. Go to the next slide, right? Anybody who talks about leadership, the interesting thing is they come up with styles. You know, if you're going to publish something on leadership, the reality is you've got to have a new hook, right? A couple of years ago, somebody was using Machiavelli's The Prince to study leadership, and they were looking at the power behind the throne, the invisible power behind the throne. And they came up with a high Mach test. It's like, so you could prove that you had power, but no one knew you had power. Talk about a waste of time, all right? But the reality is that we start thinking about leadership, and there's different ways to approach it, and there's dynamics that we can talk about. Now, we talk about an authoritarian leader, okay? This is the classic style. This is the Adolf Hitlers, the Vladimir Putins of the world, right? But we all know authoritarian leaders. We've all worked for authoritarian leaders. We've seen coaches who are authoritarian leaders. We've had partners who are authoritarian leaders, not you, dear. Get that in quickly, all right? Okay. Whew, okay. But the fact of the matter, right, is that that is part of it. You know, they're authoritarian leaders. It's one of those dynamics, you know, the first time Deb and I met with the Reverend Walter, right, we sat down in the meeting to discuss this service, and he served us tea. And I thought, well, authoritarian's off the list. Okay, that's not going to work, all right? But the reality was, right, we know that that exists, and it's out there. Now, it's not going to work terribly well here, okay? No one's going to accept an authoritarian leader who comes in and takes charge and tries to force their will upon people. But did you hear about, you know, in some churches, it still does exist. Did you hear about the Catholic priest in Arizona? This priest was doing baptisms. And the amazing thing was, he used, in the rite of baptism in the Catholic Church, the final words are, and I, parentheses, God's representative here on earth, baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. All right? This priest liked to say, we, the community of the faithful, baptize you. The bishop went apoplectic and thought to deny 20 years of baptisms based on the change of a pronoun. That's an authoritarian leader, all right? That's not going to work here, okay? Democratic, all right? Now, this is one that does fit our style. A democratic leader is the notion that you're going to vote, you're going to have a voice. But as we well know, Thomas Jefferson also said, democracy is the best, worst form of government ever known to man. It's messy, it's loud, it's contentious, and it creates majorities and minorities. We live in a country now where we're experiencing the difficulty in the trauma between the battles between, you know, majorities trying to keep power and minorities who seek power. People who have lost sense of the mission. They're not serving the people any longer. They're trying to serve themselves. In the state of Ohio, when they were just redrawing maps, did you hear that some of the legislators wanted to put the addresses of the local legislators in the maps? There's no ego involved in that process, is there? No. How could you possibly think that? Do you know the weird thing about democracy and UUs? We go the other way, right? There's a continuum they talk about in small group communication between the task orientation and the socio-emotional needs of the group. And academics love hyphenated words. It means works and plays well with others, okay? And the problem, you've all been at a meeting where the check-in takes an hour and a half, right? Hi, I'm Biff, and yeah, if Jay Clemmer and I are in your group, you're doomed, all right? I remember in 1937, boom, you're gone, right? balancing this is one of the critical aspects of this, making sure the task orientation is not, it's an interesting thing. If you look at older definitions of leadership, they will talk about using the tools of leadership. And they're not talking about tools, they're talking about people. It's the manipulation of people that's leadership. We've gone beyond that now, right? We begin to recognize that we have to value people for what they are, but balance them. Functional. The interesting thing here is for the first time, somebody suggested, what if there were more than one leader in a group? What if leadership could be fluid? What if it could be functional? And this was a revolutionary thought, okay? Because we got so locked into this notion of a leader, a focus, a person, right? But think how divided knowledge has become, how divided expertise has become. When my son was young, our family doctor turned to us and said, I think he may have allergies. So we had to take him to Akron to meet a pediatric allergist. Right next door to the pediatric allergist was a gerontological allergist. Okay? We're really specialized these days, right? But what that means for our purposes is, the reality is that we all have different life experiences, we all have different knowledge, we all have different perspectives, and when we come together as a group, sharing those perspectives is what makes our decisions better. We have more creativity. Things that I couldn't think of, you know of because of your experience. Your background informs the experience and makes our collective decision better, okay? The other thing about this is, again, the burden of leadership. You think about the onus. Everyone thinks about leadership as a burden. If it's a relationship, shouldn't it be good for both parties? If I'm giving of myself, shouldn't I be getting something back? Right? Talk to people who've been in a leadership position in this fellowship, and they will tell you how good it was sometimes, how they felt like they accomplished something, how they worked with good people. One of the other interesting things about learning leadership is it's not limited in its perspective. If you learn things about leadership here, you can take them with you beyond the doors of the fellowship. This afternoon, there's going to be a protest uptown. The 700th day of Black Lives Matter. We were just talking about it. Worcester, Ohio is one of only 4 places in the country that's had a continuous Black Lives Matter protest. Worcester, Ohio, okay? And it's due in large part to many of the people sitting among you right now. They would not have reached 700 days without this community. The fact of the matter is, leadership learned here goes with you to your relationships, goes with you to your business, goes with you to your community. When you contribute here, it comes back to you and it goes out into our community. The last category is servant leadership. This would be the category that Reverend Walter fits into. Now, it's interesting for a sort of sub-bar here. The notion of servant leadership was very popular in the 90s, and it comes out of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I have come to serve, not to be served, all right? But the interesting thing about it was there's a feminist theologian by the name of Elizabeth Schussler Fiorenza. Is that a great name? Elizabeth Schussler Fiorenza, okay? The fascinating thing was she argued that this was the first feminist form of leadership because, right, when they were searching for a word for servant in Aramaic, the original language of the Bible, they couldn't find a word for servant, okay? Nothing fit. So they went to the Greek, where they found the word diakonia, D-I-A-K-O-N-I-A, diakonia, from which we get the word deacon. Diakonia means literally to serve at table, okay? Who historically has served at table, men or women? It was the first feminist style of leadership. And it was given to us by whom? Jesus Christ was the one who suggested it, Jesus who defined this form of leadership. And yet we have many Christian organizations that still don't recognize female leaders and worry about the demasculinization of leadership. Funny how that works, isn't it? What we need here, right? What we want here is we want you to be engaged. There are many, many ways for you to be involved. Again, when you're able, when you're ready, take a step. But the other thing about it is encourage leaders in others. If you see people doing a good job, say, nice job. Celebrate them and share their success with the rest of this group. That's how we're going to find out who future leaders are. You know, I watch this technology and I keep thinking, think about the way our fellowship, it's possible for us to have members who will not step foot in this church. They could be following the Reverend Walter from Virginia. They could not have a UU fellowship in their community, and they may connect with us online. We need young leaders who know technology. We need young leaders with new ideas about where we're going in the future, right? We've got to get some new voices along the way as we move forward and consider new options, okay? That's one of our challenges. So from this, take that idea, engagement, encouragement, and involvement, okay? We've done some remarkable things here. You think about the growth of this place in 50 years, from people meeting in a park to where we are right now. And the reality is we're still moving forward, okay, in terms of what's possible. So let me thank you for all that you've done, right? And recognize that in the future, you can do even more in more interesting ways when you're able. Blessed be.
I'm benedicting. Okay. So first, thank you. Thank you for demystifying some of that leadership, for reminding us, each and every one, that it's not about being in charge. It's about being in relationship. All of you together have some relationship. All of you together already have some bond. All you need to do is embrace it and share it and show it. Thank you all for being the wonderful leaders that you are. Go in peace.